A new Gamer Subs Waifu Cup is coming out tomorrow. It looks pretty cool, and if you actually go ahead and purchase it, you actually get a free GG tub alongside it. And you can get that with 10% off using code ESPADA. Alright, Landers, so it's that time of the month once more for us to update our monthly to this video. And in this case, we have 5 new characters to add to the list, and also 6 new characters to update since we did get 2 new resurrection batches in the month of August. I would like to think the characters that came out this month are exceptional, and this is our first end of month banner post 8th anniversary, and I'm not gonna lie, it's setting a high example of what we can come to expect with future end of month banners, because these new characters that came out into the game are absolutely insane, not being tied to an anniversary. As always though, I do want to point out how excited I am to finally be adding more 1000 Year Blood War characters onto the list, and I'm once more looking forward to seeing what future 1000 Year Blood War characters will be coming into the game. Maybe this end of month, who actually knows? As always though, when it comes to our ranking, we have 3 main factors: damage and range, usability, and also survivability. If you excel in all 3 of those things, then of course you're more likely to be higher on the list. As always though, we're going to be starting off with the heart tier list. And as of right now, I have no change to make outside of the resurrections, because in this case we did get 1 new resurrectable character, that being the 1000 Year Blood War version of Mayuri. And in this case, upon resurrecting, he got some really good skills that fixed his issues. One of those issues being the lack of range. He came out with a less than 4 screen strong attack 3 and also lacked Havoc. Now at the time, lacking Havoc wasn't that big of a deal, because seeing that the character that released alongside him, that being Nemu, and she essentially kickstarted the Havoc meta that we have in the game right now, it was kind of sad to see Mayuri in particular get less range on a strong attack 3 and also no Havoc. Luckily though, his resurrection does fix that, and now his range is actually quite respectable. Alongside that, he did pick up a damage increase, since when he is at full stamina, he will then get 16% more damage on all of his attacks, and when you do inflict paralysis, you then do 30% more damage to that enemy. Would have preferred if he got a berserker increase instead of the extra damage to paralyzed enemies, for example. So essentially his high damage output or higher damage output is tied behind inflicting status augments, and that means his damage output isn't the highest. It's also very rare for you to get that damage increase since you have to inflict status augments. He doesn't have an increased chance to do so. But as of right now, he is currently sitting in B tier. With the upgrade, I think he's a solid character to use if you do like the character. Not someone that I'm really going to use in most content, but definitely usable. So I'm probably going to put him around here right besides these characters that are also resurrected. Overall, he's a better character. Nothing super crazy, but good enough to be used. But what is crazy is the newest character in the heart attribute, that being Kyoge OP. This is one of the characters that I was excited for, especially because he was technically in the game like over 3 years ago. He was a story mode boss in the 1000 Year Blood War story, and ever since his introduction in the game, we always expected him to come out into the game sometime soon. Little did we know we had to wait over 3 years. Lucky for us though, the wait was worth it, because this character is quite frankly amazing. And where I put him in the tier list might be a bit controversial, and I'll explain what I mean in a minute. Quickly highlighting the character's biggest strengths: damage output. This character can hit really hard, and it's due to many things. For starters, he has Frenzy +2. When he does inflict a status augment, and keep in mind he can inflict Drain, allowing him to stay at full stamina super easy, he then gets an 80% stat boost to his Spiritual Pressure stat. That in of itself is already great, but Kyoge then comes with 20% more damage when he is at full stamina, which pairs quite well with his Drain status augment. When you do inflict Drain, you then do 40% more damage to those enemies, and then every kill that you do get, you get 2% more damage. This caps out 100%, and it's one of the more broken skills in the entire game. Damage output on this character is not an issue. He can hit really hard, and it makes it even better because he was given the best strong attack kit in the entire game. A Beam SA1, a Distant AoE into a Tracking Vortex SA2, and a full screen SA3. Visually, this character looks great, but he also plays great. He has good survivability, good damage output. There's almost nothing bad about this character. And I guess it even gets better, because in the Limit Breaker game mode, which is coming out tomorrow, he's going to excel with even more, because when you move into another map, if you are a heart character, you recover everyone's strong attack recharge by 20%. This is really good in that particular game mode, especially alongside the Rampage skill. So with that said, he's an instant SS tier character, but where exactly are we going to place him? Honestly, if you want to put him as the best heart character in the entire game, I wouldn't even deny it. I wouldn't even question it, to be fair. But at least when it comes to my ranking on my tier list, it's hard to say where I want to put him, because he is lacking 2 things that I maybe overvalue. It really depends on how you look at it. And that is the fact that he doesn't have 2 killers. Technically, he doesn't need it, but he doesn't have 2 killers. He also doesn't have Marauder, which therefore means he's technically not as usable in Extreme Co-op. Maybe there's certain Senkaman stage you can't use him in, and of course also Guild Quests. It hinders where he could technically be used. Having said that, he is still a great character that can be used anywhere. Again, you could debate him to be the number one character, but for me on my tier list, considering that he does lack the 2 killers, considering that he is lacking the Marauder, for example, 2 things that I do value, I don't see myself putting him above these 2 characters, for example. Maybe even under Aizen. Because Kyogre, at least to me, is someone that I'm not really going to use in Guild Quests, whereas these 3 characters, I will. And I can use them in multiple weeks of Guild Quests. Additionally, when it comes to his status augment, he's only immune to freeze, and again, we are nitpicking here, but that's what you have to do in the SS tier. At least Aizen, he has 1 immunity, so he's very comparable to Aizen, to be fair. But when it comes to Bruno and Ichigo, they're immune to every status augment. Maybe it's not that big a deal, but there are going to be times where you are playing with him. Maybe you get inflicted with paralysis, for example, and then you end up dying. If he does get hit and he survives, great, because he can easily get back to full stamina. But for me, I value those things, and it's something that he does lack. It's not really that big of a deal, but at least when it comes to my placement on the tier list, I can't really see myself putting him higher than these 2 characters in particular. But even though I'm putting him as the 3rd best heart character in the game, you can easily argue for him to be number 1. Bleach Brave Souls as a whole has a lot of different game modes, and at a tier list like this, where I'm trying to factor in all of them, sometimes it's hard to rank a character. In Limit Breaker, obviously Kyogre is going to be the best character for that. In Inheritance Trials, Ichigo is going to be the best character for that. When it comes to Guild Quests, Aizen and Bruno are going to be really exceptional. So when you try and rank in all those game modes, it gets hard to rank a character. I'm going to see the comments in this video to see what some of you like to have to say, whether you agree with him being 3rd place, maybe he should be higher, and if the majority of the comments do agree that he should be number 1, I'll easily reflect that in next month's tier list. Either way though, whether he's 3rd, 2nd, 3rd, even if he was 5th on the tier list, Kyogre is an exceptional character, one of the best in the entire game, and easily my favorite character from the entire month. Maybe, dare I say, my favorite character from the entire anniversary. He's really good, and it was definitely worth the wait. And that then leads us into the power tier list. In this case, we have 2 new resurrections to talk about and also 1 new character. Our first resurrection is 1000 Year Blood War Nemu. In her case, she got a very interesting soul trait, and in her case, she got a very interesting resurrection upgrades. For starters, the skill that she did pick up is 40% more damage at low stamina. That's why I say it's interesting, because we very rarely get low stamina characters. It's not really encouraged, and this is the first time in many years outside of normal attack damage characters specifically designed for Brave battles, have we seen a character like this, an SP character, get a low stamina damage upgrades. Alongside that, she got a 10% upgrade on a Berserker, so 10% more strong attack damage, and for the first time ever on a soul trait, she does 16% more damage to enemies not afflicted by an ailment. Really good upgrade in my opinion. So essentially the quick way to describe her is her upgrade just gave her more damage. She already had good strong attacks, she already had good range, nothing really changed outside of damage output. Unfortunately, though, it is a bit clunky. You do have to take hits, you have to go down to low stamina, so it is still a weird playstyle, and a lot of times when you are playing with this character and you are trying to get down to low stamina, you end up wasting time just trying to get hit, and sometimes that can take upwards to 20 seconds. Either way though, an upgrade is an upgrade. I'm going to put her around here. You could argue for her to be better than Toshiro, but I feel like the fact that she does lack status and hurt her just a tad bit, because hypothetically, if you really wanted to, you could take someone like Toshiro into Inheritance Trials, whereas Nemu, you probably wouldn't want to. Additionally, Swimsuit Yoruichi did get an upgrade. Once more, another interesting one to say the least. In her case, very similar to Mayuri, she picked up a damage skill, but only when you inflict a status ailment, in this case to weakened enemies. She did pick up 60% more damage on her strong attacks, and that's a soul trait, but at the same time, she also did pick up long strides. Now, this is the first resurrectable character to pick up long stride, and it's the first time we've actually seen a character be able to get double long stride, funny enough. If a character naturally has long stride built in, as a bonus ability, you cannot give them long stride. But considering that her 6-star pre-resurrection didn't have long stride, you can give that skill to her, resurrect her, and because she picks up long stride, she basically has the longest flash step, which is really suitable for someone like Yoruichi. Unfortunately, the flash step really doesn't do much for her gameplay. Her damage output saw a small increase. We are still going to move her up though, probably around here. Maybe I undervalued her already. We could even say bottom of B tier. The main problem with this character is her strong attack hit, not really the most consistent, and damage output really isn't the greatest, nor does she have the best survivability. But I guess she does more damage now, and I guess the double long stride makes her faster, kind of fun to play around with if you did give a long stride before resurrecting. But that then leads us into the newest character in the power attribute, that being Iban. Who would have thought we'd have Iban, and who would have thought Iban's actually a really good character? We're going to instantly add him to the tier list. He's instantly an S tier character, very similar to Ruika. They have basically the exact same strong attack hit. They're both fun enough links or farmers, but you want to use them for different reasons. Just to quickly compare the two characters, if you're going for links or potions, you want to use Ruika. If you have Iban, you want to use Iban as a link on the Ruika. That way you're guaranteed 15 links or potions. And the reason why you would want to use Eben is if you want to get Link Swap potions and also a lot of droplets. So despite them both being almost the exact same type of character with the strong attack hit, both being designed to be used in epic raids to farm Link Swap potions, you are given a reason to use either or. And personally, I'd rather actually use Eben since I do need a lot of droplets. Eben as a whole though is mainly designed to be thrown onto any team and be used in epic raids, IZ, and also droplet zone. He's a farmer at the end of the day. You get Link Swap potions, droplets, guaranteed droplets by the way, increases the coins and jewels and crystals that you do get. Overall, very solid character. He although does come with some added benefits, having a good damage output for a Link Swap farmer. With Frenzy +2, a 40% Berserker, and when you do inflict Lacerate, which you can do on every single attack, you then do 60% more damage to those enemies. That's really good, especially if you are paired with other Ebans. They allow each other to do more damage. And just like Ruka, the strong attack kit definitely does leave more to be desired, especially with the idea that you want to use them in epic raids. Ideally, you want them to have melee collision attacks. Unfortunately, their SA 1 and 2 are range collision, and that means some damage or damage potential is wasted in that particular modes. Still a great character though, and one of the more appealing things about this character is the fact that he has a team party buff that allows power character soul bombs to do 30% more damage. I was actually questioning moving down my Yuri because his only usage right now is in guild quests, but thanks to Eben, you could technically use them in the same team and allow someone like Mayuri and of course Yamamoto, but Yamamoto definitely doesn't need it, to nuke even harder. We're starting to see more support characters and I really like the idea of it. One of the better support characters being someone like Shojiro, for example, that came out last month. They really are good substitutes on the team and allow nukers to nuke even harder and nuke more consistently in guild quest content. So with that in mind, I am going to move to the top of S tier. I think his damage output's great, higher than Ruka's, more consistent damage output too, and it's mainly due to that team party buff, the 30% soul bomb damage increase that allows him to be a lot more usable in multiple different guild quests when paired with Mayuri and also Yamamoto. Technically even other, power characters like this Kenpachi and also Ichigo, but to be honest, you're not really nuking with them anyway. That then leads us into the mind attribute, where in this case we've got 2 new resurrections and 1 new character. Our first resurrection is another 1000-year Bloodwood character, in this case Zombie Toshiro. Now Zombie Toshiro is going down as one of the better resurrections in the entire game. It's really good. The main reason for that is because he did pick up Havoc plus 20%, getting more range on his strong attacks, something that he did lack prior to resurrecting, and he also for the first time picked up a status element boost. So when you do inflict the status element, you get a 50% stat increase on your SP stat. Really, really good, and it allows him to actually do a lot of damage. He is still lacking guard break, which is something that you kind of want on every character, because in the fact that he is a melee Aranka killer, it doesn't really matter that much because no Aranka has melee guards. Alongside that, when he is at full stamina, he then also does 20% more strong attack damage. So we saw a notable damage increase, a good increase on his range. Overall, very good character. I think as of right now, and I might have to do a bit more testing, so maybe we'll reflect that next month, I think he's probably better than someone like Noel, for example. I think he's really good. Right now, he's only lacking survivability, and of course, his damage output isn't as high compared to some of the newer characters, but for a resurrection, it's a really solid upgrade. Having said that, maybe I am overvaluing just a tad bit. Noel does have 2 killers and can go through range resistance. Maybe somewhere around here is a bit more reasonable for someone like Toshiro. Alongside that, though, we also did get Kukaku. She got a pretty good upgrade. She also got a damage increase, as her soul trait originally being 20% strong attack damage, now has that with the addition of when you are at full stamina, you then do 20% more strong attack damage. That's really good for herself, but also really good for any mind SP character in the game, really. And alongside that, she also did pick up 12% strong attack recharge. Having said that, her strong attack kit is still outrageously terrible, and sure, the damage increase is nice and all, but she doesn't really have much going for her. I'm going to put her around here, maybe above Ichigo. Sure, she's more usable, but she's still terrible to play with. And as of right now, the only place I've ever really used her is in Senkabon. And that's the only place I would still use her, but as of right now, I got way better options. That then leads us into one of the hottest characters in Bleach Brave Souls, a new swimsuit male character. Who would have thought that would have happened in 2023? But surprisingly, it did happen. Unfortunately, despite them being swimsuit characters, they are held back by being a mid-month character and therefore being given less treatment when compared to the swimsuit characters of June 2023. Having said that though, still a very solid character and a really good support character. Overall, good strong attack kit. When it comes to his damage output, he has a 40% Berserker with Frenzy +1, but he does give your entire team 20% more strong attack damage if they are a Mind Soul Reaper. But I guess what makes up for this character is that when you are at full stamina, thanks to his innate ability, he then does 40% more strong attack damage. So to be fair, his damage output isn't even that bad, especially when you consider the fact that he is a farming character. So by using him, you're getting more droplets and also more Link Swap potions. And the Link Swap potion is his sword trait, so you can give that to any other character and double down and get more Link Swap potions. but considering the fact that he was given a heart droplet skill, you are given a reason to use him, especially because he does provide some good support. Every strong attack except his SA2 can fly weakening, allowing your team to do more damage. That's really good in epic raids, for example, but his SA2 does provide a barrier and also a heal for your entire team. A 5-hit barrier for himself and a 3-hit barrier for your teammates. That's really good in epic raids, especially right now where he is a bonus, where epic raids like Mayuri, for example, the awakened one, can be quite hectic if you don't learn the pattern. It's characters like this that give some really good support and also can do some respectable damage themselves that are really good in that particular game modes. He unfortunately does lack Havoc because he is a mid-month character after all, but I don't think it's that big of a deal. You want to use him in Inheritance Zone, you want to use him in epic raids, and that's perfectly fine. He's going to do quite well in that game modes. So where exactly are we going to put him onto the tier list? As of right now, I feel like he is around here. One big problem about this character is his killer, mainly. It's terrible. Squad 0, not that good. You're not really going to be using him in guild quests. You're mainly going to restrict him only to be using epic raids, and of course also Inheritance Zone. And in those game modes, he's going to be just fine. You more so want to use him as a link though, if I'm being honest. But again, since he does increase the amount of droplets you do get, you are given a reason to still use him. And I think what's really carrying him personally is the fact that he's a really good team support. Support characters, especially in this epic raid, are really good. And that's where characters like him really start to shine a tad bit more. If you look at him as a support character, then for Byakuya, he's one of the better ones. That then leads us into the speed attribute where we got no new character, nor did we get a single resurrection, which is kind of understandable, right? We've had some really good characters in this attribute. I think it's safe to say they deserve a break for at least 1 month. Having said that though, I'm going to make one change. This is mainly thanks to my guildmate. This Speed Tsukishima, a character you probably don't use, but he has some nuking potential in the hard difficulty guild quest that I've never really respected for the most part. We are going to get the very hard difficulty, so maybe that value will decrease as we go into the new guild quest, but he can surprisingly nuke the hard difficulty guild quest. So I guess because of that, we're going to put him around here. Maybe here. Maybe there. I think that's a decent place for him. Right there. In the middle of B tier. But that's really about it for the speed attribute. That then leads us into the technique attribute, where we got 2 new characters and 1 new resurrection. And before we do add those characters onto our list, I want to make a few changes, mainly to SS tier. I feel like we have too many characters here. Characters that I think are starting to lose some value for the most part. So I'm actually going to move down Art Ichigo. He was always here because he had 2 killers, a lot of usability, and he also could nuke in guild quests. Unfortunately, as 2 years have passed, I feel like he's starting to lose a bit of value. One, because his damage output isn't as high as it used to be, only a 60% Berserker. When compared to Aizen, Frenzy +2 with the kit that he does have still holds up really well, especially in guild quests. His Solemn, I feel like, has started to lose a lot of its charm, because we've gotten some really good nukers. If you want to nuke with him, you have to have him 5 out of 5. The other nukers that we've been getting nowadays can nuke at 2, 3 out of 5. And with the upcoming very hard difficulty guild quests, I don't see him doing much waves in that particular game modes. Still overall very useful character, given the fact that he does have complete stat immunity, good strong attack kits, respectable damage output at this point, and of course also 2 killers. I'm going to leave these 2 characters up because they're still useful and really good in IT, although again I am kind of on the urge of moving down Uryu. I know he has Pierce Iron Skin, and technically you can use him in any given IT, but his strong attack kit I don't think is aged the best. I don't like using him. I've always had him up on SS tier because he has been that character to use in any IT session, but I feel like now we have better options. Gin, for example, I actually prefer using, despite him not having Pierce Iron Skin, and Gin still also sees a lot of usage in guild quests, for example, given his fact that he does have a really good SA2. Uryu, not so much. These 2 are both still great farmers. Grimmjow you want to use in epic raids, he's the better character for that. Despite Grimmjow having a better strong attack kit, I would rather still use Uryu for IT, and Uryu's great thing, and the great thing about Uryu too, keep in mind, despite just lowering him, is the fact that he does actually have a really good team support. Team heal, team strong attack buff. That's really good for a co-op character that is designed to be used in Inheritance Trials. Having said that though, having a look at our B tier, we have Swimsuit Orihime. She did receive an upgrade. She got a 20% damage increase when she is at full stamina. That's good for her soul bomb, good for her strong attacks, good for her normal attacks. Her soul trait, she picked up stamina recovery, so it's a really good soul trait in my opinion. Definitely a niche one to say the least. Overall, as an upgrade, she really didn't change much. Maybe just a tad bit better will put her above Dark Rukia. Next up, we have another hottie, that being the swimsuit version of Jushiro. In his case, he's kind of a weird character. We recently just received Chojuro, who's a really good Linkshot farmer, and also really good support. And Swimsuit Jushiro is basically that, but worse. Now, Jushiro does come with the benefit of being a +10 Linkshot farmer, But very similar to Iban versus Ruroka that we did talk about earlier in the video, you're going to want to use Chojo if you're farming links or potions and also droplets. And then if you only care about links or potions, you'll want to use this particular Jushiro since he is giving you plus 10. Now the reason why I say these characters are very similar is mainly because both of them can boost your character's damage output if you are a Technique Soripa. And in this case for Jushiro, if you are a Technique Soripa on the team, you'll then be doing 40% more damage to any enemy afflicted with a status ailment. Alongside that, you innately get a 20% strong attack damage buff, so that makes Chojo a pretty good team player. Chojo can apply weaken on every single attack, which is good for epic raids. Unfortunately, his kit isn't really the greatest for epic raid content, but Jushiro as a whole has a respectable damage output once more for a link slot farmer. It is tied behind inflicting status ailments, but he himself does have an increased chance to do so, which I think is really cool. He comes with a no affiliation killer, which is quite noteworthy for a mid-month character. Usually they are given weird killers like Squad Zero, like we saw for example with Byakuya, and he was surprisingly also given Havoc. So Jushiro for a mid-month is actually quite solid. Also going to go in S tier. I'd probably put him around here, just below Tsukishima. Actually, to be fair, you could probably put him around here. The increased chance allows him to technically be used in any content where he'll constantly apply weakening. His kit again does leave more to be desired, but overall he's a very solid character for a mid-month character. But that then brings us into the most popular character of the entire month, a character that a lot of people have been going for, Bambietta. I don't need to say it, but we all know she's going into SS tier. She right now is competing to be one of the best technique characters in the entire game. Let's explain why though. For starters, the main thing about this character is her damage output. She is a character that does a lot of damage, especially if you can stay at full stamina. The reason for that is because she herself does come with a 30% full stamina damage soul trait. Alongside that, she has Frenzy plus 2. When you do inflict a status ailment, you then get an 80% stat boost to your spiritual pressure stat. And it's worthy to note that she does apply a burn on every single attack, where she would then do 40% more damage to those enemies. What rounds up this character is the fact that she does have an increased chance to inflict status ailments, so you have a very easy time keeping that SP boost, allowing yourself to stay at that max damage potential. Another great thing about this character is that she is a Captain Killer Nuka. Her soul bomb hits really hard, and she might see more usage and might be more sought after once we get the very hard difficulty guild quest where she might make quick work of every single boss in that stage. The reason for that is because once more, she has the SP boost. She has a 60% devastation, alongside the 40% more damage to burning enemies, weakened defense which you can stack with bonus abilities, and also bombardment plus 1. Her soul bomb hits ridiculously hard, especially once more when you are at full stamina. She was also given Sharpshooter, so that's really good for any quest that has resistances, and she was also the first character ever to have the Barrage SA2, which does a lot of damage if you can get all the hits off. It's really good in guild quests and epic raids, it allows you to clear those type of content super fast, and that's where she mainly excels in. If you saw our showcase, she's a really good character in any piece of content, especially Inheritance Trials, where you do have that increased chance to inflict status ailments, which lets you go through the Iron Skin abilities. Even though she'll never have Killer, since she has Captain Killer, she of course will do more damage against the bosses, but she mainly wants to be used in epic raids and of course guild quests. So because she's really good in any content you put her against, because she's a Captain Nuka, we are going to put her near the top of SS tier, although right now, I'm going to put her as the third best tech character. Again, kind of like Kyogre, and this one is more up for debate I would like to think. You can argue that she is the best technique character in the entire game. But I will say, despite how amazing she is, and how I'm very happy to pull her, she does have some negatives about her. Only one killer, that being Captain. She has no PVE killer. Technically, she doesn't need it because she has the increased chance to inflict status ailments, but when compared to someone like Ichigo and also Toshiro, they have 2 killers. Granted, Toshiro's second killer isn't that useful, but still something to keep in mind. Alongside that, she does have some negatives with that SA2. Despite it being really good, it does lack invincibility frames, so you are going to have to get around that when playing with her. It will take a bit to get used to, and considering the fact that she does have a 30% full stamina damage soul trait, she has no built-in ways to stay at full stamina. And if you are using that SA2 where you're kind of prone to get hit, you can lose quite a lot of DPS. She's an amazing character with a few drawbacks, and that's perfectly fine. I feel like these two characters have more usefulness in PvE content. Like if I was to go into Inheritance Trials, for example, I would rather take Ichigo or Toshiro over Bambietta. But of course, when it comes to guild quests and epic raids, Bambietta is going to be the queen for those types of modes. So again, it really depends on what you value, what mode you value more so, on where you would rank the characters. You could argue for her to be number 1. For me though, given the fact that she does have those drawbacks, if you do get hit, for example, you are punished quite heavily for it. Whereas Toshiro and also Ichigo, especially Ichigo, you can afford to be careless and just get right back up to full stamina. Always be at that max damage potential, right? Their strong attack hits are also better, just for the record. But yeah, with that, that's basically the tier list, right? Wrapping up the technique one. The month of August brought us some really good characters. The mid-month characters in particular weren't really all exciting. It was nice to finally see us get some male swimsuit characters, and despite them being given less treatment when compared to the female characters, I think both characters turned out great. They are both farmers at the end of the day, so if you did pull them, you're definitely going to use them. And then when it came to the end of month banner, really happy to see more 1000-year Blood War characters. Kyoge and Iban in particular getting their first character in the game. Super excited to see them, and they all turned out great. Kyoge is an absolute monster wherever you put him. Bambietta is now the Queen of Nukin. And Iban is a very respectable and solid farming character that has some extra usage in Guild Quest content when it comes to Nukin. The resurrections we received, we finally got some swimsuit characters. They weren't too exciting, but they were long overdue. And the 1000-year Blood War characters got some really good upgrades. Again, Tosha right now is probably the best resurrectable character in the entire game. So a very solid month for Bleach Brave Souls. Excited to see what the month of September is going to bring. And as always, in the comments below, let me know what you guys think about the placement of these characters. If you disagree, agree, give your opinions, and we can potentially reflect that on next month's tier list. Which might be a drastic change because we should be getting the new very hard guild quests. And with that, depending on how it turns out, we might make some drastic changes. We'll have to see how it does go. But I hope you guys enjoyed the video. If you got any of the characters, congratulations. And I'll see you guys next time. Take care and peace.